Good morning. I don't know how many of you guys know or follow The Chosen, which is the Dallas, I can't even think of his last name right now, but Dallas, who put together a way to develop, promote, and get sponsorship and money from the world at large and bypass the Hollywood system to bring us an online app-oriented spectacular stories and creating the video and a movie-like story episodes of the Bible. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail with it, but when it first launched, I really wanted to support it because I knew it was going to make a difference in our theaters. And so I have done that. I've watched just recently a couple of, I've seen them multiple times, but I've watched them again just because they're so powerful. Like even just getting ready to tell you guys these, I totally can get emotional because they're so powerful. It really makes the Bible come alive. So there's one that I rewatched just recently and it's been on my mind, and I wanted to share a couple of thoughts that I had regarding the strong, incredible message. So some of you will remember the woman with the issue of blood. Basically, if we just put it into layman's terms, she was hemorrhaging. You think about a woman's monthly cycle and how that works. In today's world, we would be able to take care of that. But they take that story and they put it into the scene, and when Jesus' ministry was more well-known, people were knowing who he was. He's closing in on the last days before he is crucified, and so the throngs of people are around him. There's a lot going on. Now a little bit of background of what it meant to live in that day as a woman. There were so many legal rules that applied to when you were having a monthly cycle. The church and the Pharisees and everything that was dealt with back in that day, like a leper who is clean or unclean. So when a woman was in her monthly cycle, she was considered unclean. There were things she could not touch. If she had touched them, you could not touch them. It was a whole process. I think about living back in that day. So they had to go through certain things, keep people away from them, not touching them, doing all these things that made other people unclean. If they touched somebody or something someone had touched that was unclean. So many rules. Don't even ask me why. Just other than laws and crazy stuff back in the Bible. Thank God I'm not living in that era of time. So the woman with the issue of blood, think about her life for just a minute. She's unclean every day of her life. She cannot be touched. She cannot touch anyone. How does she survive? How does she emotionally and mentally and in other ways be okay? Because it's practically impossible for her to have a meaningful relationship or receive even just so much as a hug. She lives like this for years. She has spent her money. She has been to the physicians. She has looked for answers, and there are none for her. You can only imagine the emotional, psychological, social implications upon her psyche, her life. She's an outcast. And probably the people around her know who she is. And they know she has this issue. How does she even make a living or survive? She's not with a man. There is no provider. So she is trying to provide for herself, living like that. So just try to get into the heart of her life for a moment. She must hear about Jesus, and she hears that he heals. And he is coming into town, and there are throngs of people around her. And she believes that if she can just get to him and touch his garment. Her faith is so strong. I mean, I think he's her last hope. Nobody like this had come into their society. They were all waiting for the Messiah. So I can only imagine her desperation. Sheer desperation. Number two, she can't be noticed by anybody that knows her because she can't touch him. She legally would not be able to touch him. So as she is pressed in about the crowd, whether she is standing or she drops down or crawls, whatever she's doing, she doesn't want to be noticed. Because if she's noticed, the outcry of the people will say, unclean, unclean, you're not supposed to be here, right? And her only hope is to publicly go touch someone. Jesus is being crowded about by throngs of people. He's with his disciples, and at some point he stops. Who touched me? He says. I'm sure people are looking at him like, are you serious right now, Jesus? Who touched you? I don't know. 70, 50 different people? You're walking through a crowd. People are reaching out. You're being bumped from side to side. What do you mean, who touched you? No. Who just touched me? I can only imagine the woman's fear as she is close enough to have touched Jesus. She had to be close enough for her to hear him say, who did this? She can't be noticed. She's not even supposed to be there. It's a crime for her even to be touching anyone. I think he must have asked at least 2, 3, 4. I mean, at this point, it's taking great courage for her even to speak up. And I would dare say people in the crowd knew who she was. She finally speaks up, knowing the assault that will be against her. And I'm sure she stumbled and stammered over her words as she tried to explain. I just touched the cloth of you. I didn't really touch you. Just the hem. Just the material on your garment. I didn't touch you. I know I'm unclean. I can see Jesus getting down on her level and looking her dead in the eye as she's fearfully trying to withdraw from his gaze. The unclean outcast. And he begins to lift her up because he recognized the power of her faith, her desperate faith, because that is what caused healing power to come out of him from the material hanging from his body. Try to get that. She's fearful, and he turns her fear into joy and gladness. He knows that her touch of the garment that hung from his body was enough to heal, restore, and redeem. He corrects the crowd, straightens out what's really happening in that moment is greater than all of the people who are pressing in around him. He is touched by her extreme faith. And here's what speaks to me. She was somewhere where she wasn't supposed to be. She was socially breaking all of the rules. She was religiously breaking all of the religious rules. So she went against society. She went against the church. She went against the laws of the people to reach her healing. So if we saw someone today and they were breaking a law and they didn't line up with the religion, social rules, but they were desperate enough to risk everything so they could be healed when all else failed. This is why we know that God judges from our heart, not the rules we're breaking, not the attempts that are socially unacceptable, not from the judgment of the people around you, not all of those things. He sees the heart, and he will break away from the crowd to acknowledge the one person who took all of the risks because they were desperate enough to find and believe for their healing, breaking all of the rules to gain freedom. And those of us in the crowd that know and abide by all the rules are judging the one who found her freedom, risking it all. And Jesus' response is anything but judgment. Can we just rethink, just for a moment, what we do to each other when we do not understand their journey? Understand how they really are living. During this pre-Easter season, there are so many stories like that I am watching, listening, trying to be attentive to God, to hear something a little deeper than what maybe I've gotten before. I love the verse that says his mercies are new every morning. I prayed that this morning, and I had to say, thank God they are, because I need them every day, every morning, multiple times a day. So as you are walking through the rest of this season, this Lent season, this pre-Easter celebration season of what Jesus came to do for all of us, and how some of them got their healing and freedom and redemption even before he went to the cross. How amazing is that? Have a great day. Take it to heart, and God bless. God bless you guys.